Good evening. Don't adjust your sets. The mayor is away, but Councillor Kiddo here. I will be calling the meeting to order for Kimberley City Regular Council on May the 24th. Firstly, just the Ktunaxa recognition statement, just recognising we are on the unceded territory of Ktunaxa First Nation. We thank them for allowing us to live, work and play on their territory. Marie, any late items?
There is no late items, Acting Mayor Kiddo.
Thank you. And with that, can I have someone to move the adoption of the agenda? Councillor Goodwin and Councillor McBain to second. All in favour? Thank you. First, adoption of the regular meeting minutes from the meeting of April 25th. Moved by Councillor Dallum, second by Councillor McBain. All in favour? Thank you. And the minutes from the regular meeting of May 9th, moved by Councillor Oakley, seconded by Councillor Goodwin. All in favour? Thank you. And finally, from the special meeting on the meeting of May 16th, Councillor McBain moves, seconded by Councillor Oakley. All in favour? Thank you. So now we'll move on to the public hearing. First of all, there's a statement from the chair. Just bear with me here. I've just got a big statement here to read. So this is the overview of the public hearing procedure. We will be hearing submissions by telephone. If anyone is listening via the YouTube stream that would like to share their comments on these bylaws, please call in now to 1800 741 7180. And then when prompted, enter meeting number or access code 2499 068 2635. When asked for the password, simply enter the pound or the hashtag symbol. Once you are connected, you will be able to hear the meeting, but will be muted and on hold until it's your turn to speak. If you are listening via the live stream while on the phone, please make sure to mute or turn the volume down on the live stream to avoid causing audio feedback. You may let us know that you would like to speak by entering 9 on your phone to raise your hand. You will know when it's your turn to speak when you hear that your microphone has been unmuted. We ask everyone for patience during the hearing, as we will be moving slowly to allow ample time for switching between speakers. There is a minor delay between the live stream and the telephone audio, so please be understanding. Any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw will be given an opportunity to be heard. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. Members of council may ask questions of you during your presentation for clarification. However, the main function of council members at this hearing is to listen to the comments presented and not to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw or any comments presented. You will be given 5 minutes for your presentation. I will call for presentations 3 times before closing the hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, members of council cannot take any further input regarding the proposed amending bylaw. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect the council believes. And in fact, we will be going into the regular meeting straight after the public hearing. So this is for public hearing bylaw for bylaw number 2720. This electronic public hearing is being convened pursuant to the Ministerial Order M139 issued May the 1st, 2020 and Section 464 of the Local Government Act in order to consider the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 2720, amendment number 38, 2022 to the Alpine Resort zoning bylaw. And we'll begin with a brief overview of the bylaw and then we'll call for submissions. Troy.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Kiddo. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, that's great, Troy. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the proposed bylaw 2720 will amend multiple sections of the Alpine Resort zoning bylaw to remove the maximum number of bedroom requirements. These proposed changes are intended to help to allow short-term rental unit applications to move forward in some cases, and also to simply avoid possible future non-compliance issues arising in conflicts with these regulations that are deemed to be generally ineffective to measure the limiting, generally an ineffective measure of limiting bedrooms to regulate dwelling unit occupancy. I'll just remind council that within the recently approved short-term rental bylaw, we have set a maximum occupancy for most short-term rental operations at no more than 12 persons. The maximum occupancy set in the short-term rental bylaw affords applicants a certain amount of flexibility in how guests are accommodated within any given unit. Likewise, during staff review of applications, the requirement of applicants to indicate how accommodation will be arranged for guests allows staff to consider guest arrangements according to safety requirements and guidelines according to the BC Building Code and Fire Code. As the maximum requirements for the allowable number of bedrooms is generally an ineffective mechanism to regulate occupancy, staff are proposing that council approve the removal of all references to the maximum allowable bedrooms from those zone requirements found in the Alpine Resort zoning bylaw. That is it for the overview.
Thanks, Troy. Before we begin receiving any verbal submissions, did we receive any written submissions, Maurice?
No written submissions.
Thank you. First call for submissions. Is there anyone on the line?
There is nobody on the line.
Okay. So I'll make a second call, and if anyone's listening by the live stream that would like to share their comments, please call in now, 1-800-741-7180, and when prompted, enter meeting number 2499-068-2635. And when asked for passwords, simply enter the pound or the hashtag symbol. And once you are connected, we'll be able to hear the meeting, but we'll be muted, and then just wait for your turn to speak. Second call.
Still nobody.
No one there. And I'll make a third and final call for the submissions. Again, I'll repeat the numbers here. If you're listening on the live stream, please call in now, 1-800-741-7180, meeting number 2499-068-2635.
We have 3 viewers on the live stream and still no calls.
Welcome to our viewers. Thanks for tuning in. We'll just give it a few more seconds here just in case someone is trying to call in. Time goes slow when it's this quiet. I think with that, with no further submissions, the public hearing for proposed bylaw number 2720 is now closed. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for your cooperation and patience. We'll move on. Okay, so into the bylaws, permits and policies. And guess what? We're talking about the Alpine Resort zoning bylaw number 2720. This is for council to approve third reading and adopt. You have to do that separately? Yes. Third reading and then adopt?
Yes, please.
Okay. So would someone like to move third reading? Councillor McBain moves. Councillor Goodwin seconds. Any further discussion? Councillor Oakley.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Troy, can you hear me? Even though the report was written by Justin, I do have a question. Are you able, I'm just wondering if you can answer. On the bottom of the analysis, the very last sentence on the analysis, I'll read it out. This increased flexibility may allow for a greater occupancy in certain units. However, in more practical terms, it is more likely to formalize use of existing units than incentivize alterations. I just wanted some clarity on that. I didn't quite understand what that's referring to.
Yeah, sorry, catching me a bit off guard here, but I think what we were speaking to there largely was we felt that well, at least what we've seen so far in some of the applications we've been looking at is that the bedroom restriction is a bit of a hindrance in some of the existing dwelling units. So some of the existing buildings, often in multi-unit buildings, where they have the space to add an additional bedroom, but they're hindered by the zoning requirement that sets a maximum number of bedrooms. So I think we were trying to make the point that in many cases, it's not really going to result in any, additions to buildings or greater footprint, greater floor area necessarily. It's just conversion of existing floor space, which would be more typical. And of course, there's always the other other development regulations within each zone that does provide some guidance or maximum, whether it's maximum building height, maximum gross floor area, maximum floor space ratio, minimum setbacks, those kinds of things that are the kind of the more typical regulations affecting the scale and massing of new development.
Further?
Thanks, Troy. I guess one of the things I was just trying to understand is, so this, if passed, then a person wouldn't have to do any alterations, or they would just, to get to the maximum of 12 people, they don't need 12 bedrooms. You're just saying there's certain space that's going to be used for sleeping areas, and that's going to be defined without building walls, etc., right? Is that what this is about?
Yeah, there's no change to the maximum number of persons that would be allowed in a short-term rental operation, but it does remove the restriction on the maximum number of bedrooms. So it could result in, if there's up to 12 persons allowed, then they could be in, for example, say, 6 bedrooms or possibly even more bedrooms, I guess, rather than being restricted into, say 4 bedrooms and having multiple, 4 or 5 people in a single bedroom. So it allows for some renovation. The first part of your question there, I think, and maybe I misunderstood, but if somebody is proposing to renovate their space, they will typically probably require a building permit for that renovation to create that additional bedroom, and that'll be another tool or mechanism that we use to ensure building code compliance, fire safety code compliance as part of that review.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor
Yeah.
Dallin?
That was actually the point I was going to make there. So thank you.
Any further questions? I'll call the question. All in favour? And now we'll move on to adopt Alpine Resort Zoning Bylaw number 2720. Mover, please. Councillor McBain moves. Councillor Dallin seconds. Any further discussion or questions? All in favour? That passed. Thank you. Now we'll move on to Development Variance Permit 2022-06165 Bank Street. First, we'll get it onto the table. This is to issue notice. Mover, please. Councillor Dallin, Councillor Goodwin seconds. Troy, are you speaking to this one as well?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, excuse me. So council may recall considering this proposal in the past. In fact, just not even a full year ago, development permit 2021-07 was reviewed and approved by council in July of 2021. Since then, the the applicants had been kind of refining their building plan and have come up with a bit of a modified building plan that triggers the need to modify the variances that were previously approved. And in some ways it's quite straightforward, but it's a little bit confusing to explain. The previous variance approval allowed for decreased front yard setback and a decreased exterior side setback. And the refined building plan doesn't actually change the proposed setbacks or the approved setbacks that were varied. So the building will still be as close as 1.5 meters to the front yard property line and 1.6 meters to the exterior side property line on the lane. But what's changed there is there's basically more building mass or more building footprint that's within that setback area. So by strict interpretation of the bylaw and the legislation there, that is an expanded variance or an extension of the previous variance approval. So that was the main trigger. And then as well as part of our review, we identified that we should have correctly identified that the eaves will also project closer to the front parcel line and the side parcel line, and that we should specify a variance to that particular section of the zoning bylaw, which is section 407-2A. to allow for those roof overhangs or the eaves to project closer to those parcel lines. So it's not a major change overall. A little bit more floor area on the main floor and a little bit more floor area on the second level that triggers that kind of reconsideration of the variance here. So I'll leave it at that and see if there's any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Oakley.
Thanks, Troy. Just one, mainly, I'm not too familiar with the property. So there's nobody right beside this or in the vicinity, right?
There is some neighbors, but this particular property is kind of isolated and separated from its immediate neighbors by a lane to the kind of northeast, I guess, and then the northwest and western side is all hillside of kind of the nature park area, and then of course Bank Street to the south. So there's neighboring property across Bank Street, and then neighboring properties to the like I said, the northeast across the lane there.
Yeah, I guess my concern, I was just wondering about snow load, but you're going with the setbacks coming closer to the boundaries of the properties. I don't think there's any issue with that to any other properties.
Good point. In each case, those setbacks that are being varied, there's still the kind of additional buffer, if you will, of the street and the lane there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? So the motion is to issue notice to neighbours. All in favour? Passed. Thank you. Okay, and on to new business. This was a rather exciting thing to read about over the weekend. Can we get the first two parts of the motion here on the table, and then we'll get an overview from the project manager. So first two motions are to award the Electrify the Mountains accessible trailer restroom project to AMS Global for $272,836, exclusive the GST, and that council authorised the Chief Admin Officer to execute the contract documents associated with the award. Moved by Councillor McBain, seconded by Councillor Dallum. And I think Project Manager Shane Castle on the line there, Shane.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Keto. Yeah, as per the report, the Electrify the Mountains accessible trailer restrooms, the RFQ included 2 accessible washroom trailers with 2 washrooms each. It also included solar battery charging for each of those washrooms, and then 30 kilowatt hour batteries for the e-bike charging. The city received 1 compliant bid from AMS Global for $272,836, and that was within the combined budget for both the solar and the washrooms. And we've received approval from the province to reallocate the funding for this project for both the solar and the washrooms to these accessible trailer washrooms. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Shane. Does anyone have any questions? I think, Shane, thanks for this. I think it was an interesting pivot. We were having troubles about where we were going to place them. This actually solves a lot of problems. We can place them anywhere we need them to be. I think it's going to be a really good opportunity to prove some of the technology involved and the renewable power and stuff. So I think it's a really, really good thing. So we've got it on the, I'll call the question on the first two parts of the motion. All in favour? Passed. And the third part is that council authorise the expenditure of the remaining $31,135 budgeted for the Electrify the Mountains accessible trailer restroom project to fund any additional costs associated with the trailers once received by the City of Kimberley, logos, painting and wrapping. Moved by Councillor McBain, second by Councillor Oakley. Any further questions, comments? All in favour? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Thanks, Shane. And now we'll move on to the check run. 2022, 33 and 34. Mover, please. Councillor Goodwin, seconder. Councillor McBain, any comments on the check run? Councillor Goodwin?
Yes, I reviewed the check run because Sandra is away, and the only question I had, which was answered quickly by staff, was why are we giving Cranbrook $50,000? And that's for the keep of prisoners contract. So we contract with Cranbrook to look after prisoners because we don't have cell facilities here in Kimberley, and that's the payment for this year for that.
Thanks, Kent. Really appreciate you looking over those, and especially in Sandra's absence. Great to have those eagle eyes on the check run. That's great. All in favour of accepting the check run? Thank you. Passed. And now we'll move on to the question period. Members of the public may call in. I'll give you the number here, 1-800-741-7180, meeting number 2499-068-2635. If you have any questions, your microphone will be unmuted when we call you. And while we're waiting for people to call in, are there councillor items? Councillor McBain.
Nothing to report, Mr. Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dallum.
Also, nothing official to
Oh,
report.
this is a cheap run. Councillor Oakley, save us.
Yeah. I'd just like to let everyone know the Kimberley Underground Mining Railroad is upgrading all of the billboard signs. So they were all
yes.
completely rotten. Foundations were redone. Treated timbers went back in, including the down at Moyer. So they've been extremely busy working on that. You can see the sign down towards Marysville is all ripped apart, completely rebuilt all of those. So they're putting all brand new signage up. And I think the plan is to use it almost looks like yesteryear's photos, like a black and white kind of thing that won't,
Nice.
because the red goes to pink and it
Yeah.
fades in the sun, right? So anyway, they had a lot of debate around that. So I think it's going to look really nice when they're done, but a lot of work going into that right now.
That's there's not enough to do up there on the mining
Yeah,
railroad. They've got
I
to
know.
spread their talents far and wide. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Same group of volunteers, eh?
It's going to look good. Yeah.
Right on. Thanks, Daryl. Councillor Goodwin.
Nothing to report this evening.
Fantastic. And I also have nothing to report. I guess it's that long weekend and coming into the summer or something. Are there any callers on the line there?
There are no callers on the line.
Okay, well, with that, we've got an in-camera to move into. So thanks, everyone, for that. Can I have a motion to move in camera? Councillor McBain, seconded by Councillor Dallum. All in favour? Thank you. And we'll just have a couple of minutes while we move to the next meeting. Thank you.